This is one of the few, and I mean few, films that I love that have zero plot. There is no plot. And you know what else doesn't exist? Morals. Throw it out the window. Throw it out the window. This musical is so wacky. It's camp at its highest form, and I am so excited to talk about this with you. The Rocky Horror Picture Show is a 1975 independent musical comedy horror directed by Jim Sharman and written by Sharman alongside Richard O'Brien. The film is based on O'Brien's 1973 musical stage production, and he also did the music, book, and lyrics. We have Tim Curry in his film debut alongside Susan Sarandon, Barry Bostwick, Nell Campbell, not Nev Campbell, and Patricia Quinn. It only took 6 weeks to complete the film, and upon its traditional release, with afternoon and early evening screenings, it bombed. Meatloaf said he attended an opening week performance with writer and director Jim in the Midwest, and the theater was completely empty except for them. But that's when the midnight screenings became popular. You see, word of mouth began to spread that the midnight audience might enjoy this movie. It began showing at midnight in a few cities and became so popular that it's been shown continuously in movie theaters since 1975, making it the longest theatrical run in history. I have never been to one of these midnight showings. It's so tragic. Look, I grew up in the country, okay? And I will eventually. I remember when my aunt told me that, I don't remember how old she said she was. Maybe she was 18 or in her 20s. She said that her and her group of friends went to one of these showings, and you know, when you go, everybody brings the rice, the biscuits, and the toilet paper. I have all of it written down. I'm gonna bring it up later. I can't think of all of them right now. But yeah, there's stuff people bring in the theater and they throw it at the screen like it's a ritual. And as far as my aunt, I think she didn't know anything about it, and she said that her going and seeing the crowd, everybody knew the lines, just the energy, she said it was like one of the best nights of her life. So without further ado, grab your fishnets, tighten your corsets, and let's stumble into this castle where the lighting is fake, the accents are real, and nothing makes a goddamn lick of sense in the most fabulous way possible. Here's how Rocky Horror unfolds, if you can call it that. The film opens on a little number called Science Fiction Double Feature with the famous red lips and the very 70s teeth. I listen to this song sometimes.
Sometimes.
Always?
Not always, no. Sometimes. That means sometimes.
And it's long as hell, but at the end, we go to church. Literally, I wasn't saying, you know, the beat change and it's like a whole gospel number. 3 very familiar faces are hanging up in the back, if you can name them. The photographer snaps a pic of the bride and groom's family before everybody starts dispersing. Our 2 protagonists are a couple, Brad and Janet, who are here to support their besties. The bride gets ready to throw the flowers, and the woman to catch it is, of course, our Janet. On the side of the newlyweds vehicle is a message that reads, "Wait till tonight. She got hers, now he'll get his." This always confused me at 13, 14, whenever the first time I watched this was. I think I was 14. But it's basically poking fun at how women have the big fulfillment and the fantasy of having a wedding, a grand wedding. Hence, she got hers. And the man gets his because, you know, newlyweds on their wedding night, they bang bang. It doesn't really age well. It's implying that the groom only put up with this woman because of the promise of sex. While Janet harps on the success of Betty and Ralph getting married, this leads to Brad going into a number, a fantastic little song called Damn It, Janet.
I've one thing to say, and that's damn it, Janet, I love you.
During the song, he even proposes to her on the porch of the church before they go singing inside. It's an awkwardly cute and heartfelt proposal song. The calm before the storm, literally. I'm not even being metaphorical here. The couple want to visit a man named Dr. Everett Scott, who's the reason they both met each other in the first place. And that's when we meet the criminologist who comes in and out to narrate our story. I discovered the old Hollywood horror icon bisexual King Vincent Price was offered the role of the criminologist, but turned it down due to scheduling conflicts. He was definitely interested in the role, being a huge fan of the West End musical, and loved it. Our criminologist asks the audience, "I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey He pulls a book from his shelf and we see pics from the wedding, a shot of Brad Majors and Janet Weiss, two young ordinary kids who left Denton that late afternoon evening to visit a Dr. Everett Scott, ex-tutor and now friend to both of them. Dark and stormy clouds were where they were headed, and unfortunately for them, their spare tire they carried was in desperate need of air. But they being normal kids and on a night out, they weren't gonna let a storm spoil their willies, for on a night out, it was going to be a night out, they remember, for a very long time. The newly engaged couple are driving through the storm. Janet is somehow reading a newspaper in the dark, and they pass their third motorcycle before hitting a dead end. Although, where did those motorcycles come from?
Well, I guess we'll just have to turn back.
Brad wants Janet to sit in the car while he gets help, though Janet says they're in the middle of nowhere. But Brad remembers there was a castle a few miles back. Maybe they have a phone. Like a smart girl, Janet says, I'm coming with you. Homegirl said, I am not about to get sliced and diced in this core. And besides, the owner of that phone might be a beautiful woman, and you might never come back again. Bradley. That tire is surely popped and the couple walk a few miles back to the mysterious castle where the gate has a sign reading enter at your own risk. Another track comes in. Get used to that, by the way. Like every 5 minutes music is playing. And this one's called There's a Light Over at the Frankenstein Place. Mid-song, a bunch of motorcycles come in and we even see a strange man singing in the window. It's so ridiculous because instead of running to this castle to, you know, get a phone call, y'all just want to stand in the rain and sing. It's And why is Janet holding newspaper over her head? Like, that would have got soggy. But what they did when they were filming was a clear plastic sheet over the newspaper, so the rain was just trickling down. The criminologist shows us a map of the path of Denton where they came from. Further is where they are, and the destination of Dr. Scott is at the top. Our narrator tells us fortune had smiled upon Brad and Janet, and they had found the assistance their plight required. Or had they? Janet wants to go back because she's cold and frightened, and Brad's like, LOL, calm down, mama. They may have a phone. The man who answers the door is Riff Raff.
Hello.
Baby, stay close to me. What's up, Slim? Where me and my girl was riding my Porsche down the road. Brad introduces himself and Janet, asking if he's able to help because their car broke down up the road. And when they ask for the phone, Riff Raff is like, you're wet. Yeah, bro, it's raining. So I'm gonna ask again, do you have a phone? Lightning strikes and Riff Raff tells him they'd better come inside. The inside of the house is very, very creepy, very dark. Oh, it's given 1930s monster movie Hollywood set. Intentional. And if you're not paying attention, you can miss it, but there's a woman with red hair casually standing on the steps with her head down. Apparently Patricia Quinn didn't even dye her hair for this. They spray painted her hair every day on set. We can also hear music in another part of the castle playing, so they must have a party going on. Woo woo. Janet's telling Brad she's scared because where the fuck are we at, and what in the Dracula did we just step into?
Probably some kind of hunting lodge for rich weirdos.
He's a Democrat, I can feel it. Riff Raff locks the door and shows them the way. After Janet asks if they're having a party, Riff Raff says they've arrived on a rather special night. It's one of the master's affairs. Janet says lucky him, and that's when Magenta, Riff Raff's sister, hops in saying,
You're lucky. He's lucky. I'm lucky. We're all lucky.
drugs. The clock sounds off and we enter into another number, the most well-known of this entire soundtrack, Time Warp. As we go into the chorus of the song, the group run into the main room where they see a bunch of people called Transylvanians singing along. Janet faints, not knowing what planet she's on, and during this song we also meet Columbia. At the end, everyone drops on the ground and you don't know whether you should clap or what. Janet nudges Brad, telling him to say something, and they start nervously backing up, and we can hear the track of another tune coming in. The best song in the movie, I mean, if not runner up, I don't know, you pick. It's a bop and a half. We see someone coming down the elevator, stomping their feet to the beat in glittered out pumps. Janet's like, Brad, I'm cold, I'm wet, and I'm just plain scared. But I'm here, there's nothing to worry. And that's when Miss Diva Doll Frankenfurter turns around for his entrance. I mean, the guitar on the record, the vocals, the makeup. Tim Curry. A force to be reckoned with. In the song's lyrics, he's telling them not to get strung up by the way he looks. Don't judge a book by its cover, baby. I'm not much of a man by the light of day, but by night I'm one hell of a lover. Come on!
I'm just a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania.
He completely electrifies the room, walking Brad and Janet down the walkway, and mid-song has to stop to get some water. Real. As Brad tells Frank they're in a bit of a hurry and they need to use the phone. We'll just say where we are and then go back to the car. He goes back into his number, Columbia joining him, and we go into the bridge as he takes a seat on his throne. Legendary shot right here. Frankenfurter hints that he's been making a man with blonde hair and a tan, and he's good for relieving my tension. And as the final chorus starts slipping in, he slowly stands up and we hit it, just a sweet transvestite. And Frank ends the song going back to the elevator. So, come up to the lab and see what's on the slab. I see you shiver with anticipation. But maybe the rain isn't really to blame. So I'll remove the cause. But not the symptom. Woo, y'all feel that? Took me to church. The siblings rub the square couple with these dirty ass rags like, I know Riff Raff did not just put this bloody rag on my shit. Then they casually undress them since they're soaking wet. Janet is having a fit and Brad's like, it's okay, Janet. Once again, just letting anything happen. He says they'll pull out the aces when the time's right. Okay, Brad, I see you packing. Columbia tells the couple they are very lucky to be invited to Frank's laboratory, because some people would give their right arm for the privilege. They take the couple on the elevator and go to the second floor, as Janet asks if the master is Columbia's husband. No, girl, they're all just his servants. When they get to the second floor, Frank is waiting for them, looking very terrifying, but I love this shot and this very recognizable lab coat. So a little detail about the red triangle, that was used by Nazis in concentration camps, but it was flipped and it was used to identify and shame homosexual men. So in this sense of Frank wearing it, it's kind of turning it into a badge of pride or some type of liberation, if you will. Janet and Brad look around the room being gazed down upon by these Transylvanians. The room's got this pink marble, a stage, Roman-inspired statues, and something's hiding under this little red satin sheet. Frank orders Magenta and Columbia to assist Riff Raff while he entertains.
Well, nice.
Love that line.
And what charming underclothes you both have.
Tim Curry based the accent of Frank off of Queen Elizabeth II and his mother. I love it.
Why? Well, we tried all kinds of things. When I first read it, I read it German. I was very like this, and very sort of Middle European and sort of. And that was a little used, I think. So then we tried it American, and it was Jim Sharman, the director's idea, to make him the sort of Belgravia hostess with the mostest.
He gives the couple garments to put on to make them feel less vulnerable and tells them it's not often they receive visitors here, let alone offer them hospitality.
Hospitality.
And Brad is getting antsy like, hospitality? All we wanted to do was use your phone, god damn it! A reasonable request which you've chosen to ignore.
Don't be ungrateful.
Ungrateful! Girl.
This only turns Frank on. He's like, how forceful you are, Brad. Such a perfect specimen of manhood. So dominant. He tells Janet she must be awfully proud of him. And she's like, tee-hee-hee, well, yes.
Yes, I am.
Riff Raff lets Frank know everything's ready, so he gets on the mic to spit to his unconventional conventionists. You see, kids, we are to witness a breakthrough in biochemical research. This shot and this monologue are so good. It's like, I'm saying it every scene, but this is it. This is it. You know, I randomly had an unopened package of these, so don't come for me. I know it's not pink. You know, y'all know I would have put pink on, but I ain't got it, and these are necessary for the scene, okay? You have to wear these. Frank is saying how it was strange the way it happened. And that's how Frank discovered the secret, the elusive ingredient, that spark. Tonight is the night that Frank's beautiful creature is destined to be born. We see a mummified body floating in a tank of water. Frank orders Riff Raff to throw the switches on the sonic oscillator and step up the reactor power and put 3 more points. A red infrastructure comes winding down and Frank starts turning these colorful knobs that fill up the tank into a rainbow. The mummified body begins showing its skeleton before it's alive. Riff Raff yanks his head cap off and we meet Rocky, who goes into his first song. He's holding onto the overhead railing and Riff Raff's sneaky ass raises it to the ceiling. When he drops, Colombian Magenta cut off his bandages as he continues singing, and the body is on, okay? But the mic is off.
Right.
Peter Hinwood, who plays Rocky Horror, could not sing for the life of him, and his verses across the film are sung by an Australian guy named Trevor White. Rocky's running around the room while Frank chases him in worship. And afterward, Frank yells at him because that's no way to behave on your first day out. But since he is such an exceptional beauty, Frank is prepared to forgive him. Frank is like, oh, I just love success. Riff Raff says he's a credit to his genius. Magenta says he's a triumph of his will.
Yes.
It's okay.
You know how sensitive he is. Why would you say that?
Okay.
He grabs Rocky, letting Brad and Janet get a closer look, and asks what they think of him. Janet says she doesn't like men with too many muscles, and Frank is like,
I didn't make him for you.
carrying him away and saying that Rocky carries the Charles Atlas seal of approval. And we move into another number before Frank reveals a little gift he's made for Rocky, his own dumbbell barbell set. The song is called I Can Make You a Man, and it's basically Frank just, telling us how in just 7 days he can make you a man. There's a double meaning to it though. I don't need to, it's obvious. Come on now, so good.
In just 7 days, I can make you a man.
At the end of the song, they lean against a deep freezer before a siren beeps and the door comes down. Columbia screams the name of our next character we're about to meet, who blasts through the large ice cubes on a bike, Eddie. I love this song. The entire song, Frank has been up against the wall looking contemptuous before he locks Rocky in the elevator, goes in the deep freezer, grabbing a hoe, backing Eddie into the freezer, and killing him.
One from the vaults.
Tim Curry has an album with that exact same title, One from the Vaults. Rocky's banging on the elevator door and Frank tells him not to be upset because Eddie was a mercy killing. He had a naive charm, but no real muscle. Rocky flexes as Frank goes into the reprise of I Can Make You a Man. His lab coat comes off, Janet reveals herself to be a muscle fan now, and the love room curtain is open for our newlywed couple. Sorta. Columbia throws Janet into her pink room where they have cameras set up. Oh man. And Brad is thrown into his own as well. While Janet is sleeping, she's woken up by a sound just as Brad comes in, munching all over her body. But it actually just turns out to be Frank. He's like, I'm afraid so, Janet, but isn't it nice? Throwing himself back on her. It's, you know, in hindsight, I'm like, whoa, no, right. Janet is upset because he tricked her or whatever, you know, asking what he's done with Brad. And he's like, well, nothing. Why? Do you think I should? Janet says she's never had any ding-ding. And Frank tells her, I know, but it isn't all bad, is it? As he lays back over top of her, saying, I think you'll find it quite pleasurable. She's moaning, saying, stop. I mean, help.
Brad's probably asleep by now. Do you want him to see you like this?
Janet starts saying how she was saving herself, but Frank assures her she's not spent yet. And after she asks Frank if he promises not to tell Brad, he says, cross my heart and hope to die. Rocky is chained up in the bedroom, and Riff Raff and Magenta decide to pull a prank on him, teasing him with a bouquet of candles, scaring him away. He is too damn strong for them chains and breaks free, running out the room and climbing down the elevator. In Brad's room, Janet sneaks in. We know who this is. Till he rips off the wig, and once again, you know, Frank is being a freaky frog. This is exactly the same scene we just saw, but he's doing it on Brad now.
Janet's probably asleep by now. Do you want her to see you like this?
Frank says, admit it, Brad. You liked it. There's no crime in giving yourself over to pleasure. And right when Frank fills his mouth, Riff Raff comes on the machine.
What do you mean by that?
Not that way. Saying Rocky has broken his chain and vanished.
Come in.
Not Frank turned us out. Janet's in her room having a post-nut clarity breakdown. Crying because she cheated on her man and lost her virginity to a bisexual. You'll be alright. She sees on one of the screens Brad having a cigarette after screwing Frank, and now she's talking about how could you? When, you cheated on him, girl, you cheated on him first. Janet finds Rocky crying in the red tank, gives him a little bandage, and Rocky starts getting touchy-touchy. We know where this is going. Columbia and Magenta are eagerly watching these events play out too, as nasty girl Janet goes into a little song called Touch It, Touch It, Touch It, Touch Me.
Touch it, touch it, touch it, touch me. I wanna be dirty.
Sexual liberation, friends, and she sleeps with Rocky. Even though Susan Sarandon had been nude in films before this, the filmmakers wanted her to be fully nude in the scene, and she was like, yeah, no. They probably ain't pay her enough. That's probably why she said no. Frank is whipping Riff Raff because he let Rocky free, and when Riff looks at the monitor, they see Dr. Everett Scott.
You know this earthling? This person?
And because Brad revealed he knows Scott, Frank is like, oh, so you came here with a purpose. You see, this Dr. Everett Scott is not unknown to me. Brad says he was just a science teacher at Denton, Ohio, and Frank's like, bitch, I know he works for your government. Cut the shit. He's attached to the Bureau of Investigation, in which we call UFOs. Dr. Scott somehow makes his way into the house. Like, how the hell did he even get in? Riff Raff locked the door too, but I mean, I think Rocky did get out, so maybe, I don't know, maybe he took the front door. Frank pulls a bar that connects an electromagnet to this man's wheelchair, bringing him right to them, busting through the walls. And the only reason they made him bust through these walls is because the filmmakers never actually made an entrance for Mr. Scott to get in there. Like, I think the only way to get into that room is through that elevator. Wow. Scott recognizes Frankenfurter, saying, we meet at last. Frank tells Scott to cut the shit, trying to act confused that Brad's here. He thinks Dr. Scott sent Brad and Janet here to check out the layout of his home, when in reality, Dr. Scott is here for Eddie, who is his nephew. Janet gasps, revealing herself, and Frank pulls both her and Rocky up.
Janet!
Dr. Scott!
Janet!
Brad!
Rocky!
They do this 3 times in a row. It's ridiculous, and I love it. Frank tells Rocky, I made you, and I can break you just as easily. And that's when Magenta comes in, hitting a gong, and tells Master that dinner is prepared. The siblings sloppily pour wine while Frank uses an electric knife to cut a turkey, allegedly. This joker pulls out a party hat and sings happy birthday to Rocky, and then not even finishing.
Happy birthday
Shall we?
to you.
Everyone literally got 1 to 2 pieces on their plate and Frank is just eating straight from the slab. Dr. Scott reminds Frank that they're here to discuss Eddie, and as soon as Columbia hears that name, she start hollering. Remember, that was her boo bear.
That's a rather tender subject. Another slice, anyone?
Oh, that's not. Columbia excuses herself, slamming the door, screaming and crying. And Dr. Scott pulls out the A word, aliens, before going into my least favorite song from the soundtrack called Eddie, where he sings about his nephew who ran away and chose the fast life, getting into drugs, motorcycles, whips, leather, and at the end Frank gets up, ripping off the tablecloth, revealing his ridiculous corpse in a coffin under the table. After Janet runs into Rocky's arms, Frank yells, "Rocky, how could you?" slapping Janet and chasing her around the house as the song Planet Schmanet Wise Up Janet begins.
Your apple pie don't taste too nice.
Bro. He chases her into the pink room. Brad and Scott take the elevator, and after they all stand on a platform, Frank pulls the sonic transducer, gluing their feet down. Dr. Scott starts telling them the sonic transducer is some kind of audio vibratory physio-molecular transport device. What? It's something the government has been working on for quite a while, but it seems our friend here, Mr. Frank, has found a means of perfecting it. A device capable of breaking down solid matter and then projecting it through space, and who knows, perhaps even time itself. Janet's like, oh my god, you mean he's gonna send us to another planet?
Planet, schmanet, Janet, you better wise up. Build your thighs up.
One by one, Magenta pulls a Medusa lever on Frank's cue and turns all 3 of the humans into stone. Columbia comes out pissed, saying she can't stand any more of this. She admits to loving Frank, and that only got her a big nothing. So she tells Frank that he's got to choose between her and Rocky. He Medusifies her. Like, you thought she was... Oh, she thought he was gonna pick her over Rocky. No. Right after this, he breaks the 4th wall.
It's not easy having a good time.
And then after Medusifying Rocky, he says,
Even smiling makes my face ache.
Frank's being dramatic, having his moment, saying his children have turned on him, and Rocky's behaving just the way that Eddie did. We learned that he split a brain between both Eddie and Rocky, which could explain a lot. Magenta starts going off because she's grown weary of this world, and Mama is ready to return to Transylvania. Frank lets both the siblings know that he is grateful for them and they have served him well, and loyalty such as theirs shall not go unrewarded. You will discover when the mood takes me, I can be quite generous. Like I said, dramatic ass bitch. Frank heads to the elevator and says, come, we are ready for the floor show. That's when Rose Tint My World, this record, obviously boxing with Sweet Transvestite for the #1 spot for the best track in the entire film, is an 8+ minute long track, beginning as Frank starts dressing everyone behind the curtain, mashing every button to cut the lights on, and one by one, our 4 statues come to life, singing their own verse. And Brad has the best verse, in my opinion.
I feel sexy. Whoa, here it comes again.
Finally, Frank comes out with the RKO radio picture tower with a soft ballad, kicking a knob that opens a set of stairs. Then he jumps in a pool, repeating, don't dream it, be it. The rest of the performers join him making out. Dr. Scott is brought back to life, not realizing he's got tights and heels on under his blanket. And next thing you know, we go into the beat drop, the beat switch up. They bust out into full choreo before Riff Raff and Magenta bust through the theater doors with the ray gun. They are now the commanders, and you, Frank, you are now my prisoner. They're returning to Transylvania. Now get ready for this transit beam. And Frank shouts, wait, I can explain. He whispers in Rocky's ear, who drops a curtain, gives him a spotlight, and Frank goes into a ballad. You know what? Real. This song is called I'm Going Home, which is a powerful, slow-tempo song I used to sing in the shower a lot. And near the end, Frank envisions a crowd full of people. He comes down the stage to the light and gets a standing ovation. But as perceived, it's all in his head. When Riff Raff said we were returning to Transylvania, he meant only Magenta and himself. They're backing him up against the stairs and tell Frank he's to remain here, in spirit anyway. Society must be protected, and I'm afraid that our Franklin's time has come. So say goodbye to all of this, and hello to oblivion. Columbia screams and Riff Raff flips around, blasting her. Frank starts climbing up the curtain and is zapped in the back. So Rocky starts freaking out. He grabs his creator, getting zapped himself multiple times as he climbs the RKO tower until eventually it comes crashing down. And everyone's confused that Riff Raff actually killed Frank because he liked him. No?
They didn't like me! They never liked me!
Okay, calm down, Machine Gun Kelly. Riff Raff apologizes to Dr. Scott about his nephew, then tells all three Earthlings to leave now while it's still possible, because they're about to blast the entire house back to the planet of transsexual in the galaxy of Transylvania. The Earthlings leave and the entire castle is lifted off the ground. The final number is a track called Superheroes, and I will be honest, I never listened to this song. It's boring. Anyways. There's a reason why this film is so beloved in the lettuce, bacon, greens, tomato plus community, and it starts from the innate queer nature of the film. I'm not even talking about just sexuality, but the 16th century definition. This entire story is bananas. The film is parodying sci-fi films of the 30s, most obviously Frankenstein, and for a film that came out in the mid-70s to be this carefree with its subject matter, I bet it was so new and so refreshing. I mean, the film will never apologize for being incredibly weird, queer, and horny. Frankenfurter is such a tragedy, man. A genius, powerful, seductive, theatrical, but also manic, lonely, doomed. His hunger for love and attention goes against him, and he's not punished for being evil, he's punished for being too much. The dude manipulates everybody, sexually, scientifically, emotionally. Him wanting to make something beautiful only revealed the ugliest truths of his desire and his lust for power. He plays God with Rocky, plays seductress with Brad and Janet, plays the star on a crumbling stage, but all of it, every number, every moan under the spotlight, is but a performance of a man terrified to be seen as ordinary. And you know what? It goes beyond that. It goes beyond just love, like he wants to be adored by everyone, worshipped, immortalized. But in the end, he's disposed of. A queer Prometheus chained to a stage, begging the applause that never really came. Rocky, a muscle-bound mannequin, a Ken doll with the brain of a baby and the body of a wet dream, built simply for pleasure. He's objectified and quickly turns on his creator. Even queer people can project harmful expectations, no doubt, and Frank wants Rocky to love him unconditionally, but the poor guy didn't really have a choice. He was built for touch, not thought. Meat in motion, all while being confused, scared, and alone. It almost makes you think of celebrities, especially back in the day, and how their name would completely change. Their personas were molded, and their public image was artificial, all for the pleasure of the world and to hold a standard. This is a recurring tale. Films where characters have created something that in many forms turn on them. Imagine what Frank would have done with AI. He would have made a sex machine. Brad and Janet's corruption can be viewed as a form of liberation. They enter the castle as symbols of straight normalcy, clean-cut squares, and leave it fully unhinged and sexually confused. It's both a joke and a truth. Their repression was never sustainable, you see? It's really a testament to Frank's power. I mean, the guy barely put any effort in, and they both gave themselves up over to pleasure, even though they were engaged. But also, the movie intentionally blurs consent. And that discomfort is part of the critique. This isn't a sanitized queer story. It's raw and complicated. Are we supposed to root for Frank? Mourn him? Both? The film flopped upon initial release, which of course it could. Like, come on, look at the film and look at the time it came out. Not only did people dress up for the midnight showings, they brought props. The most common are rice thrown at Ralph and Betty's wedding, water pistols for the back row who would squirt them during the rain scene, newspapers for the front and middle rows to shield themselves from the rain, flashlight for the song There's a Light, rubber gloves during and after the creation speech, noisemakers when the Transylvanians applaud Frank's creation, toilet paper, preferably Scott's brand, and you throw a roll when Brad yells, "Great Scott!" Confetti, which is what the Transylvanians throw at the end of the Charles Atlas reprise, toast, thrown when Frank proposes a toast at dinner, a party hat when Frank puts on his hat to wish Rocky happy birthday, and cards.
Cards for sorrow, cards for pain.
The prop for There's a Light was almost always cigarette lighters during the original 70s shows, but most movie theaters now ban open flames, considering the newspaper. Although the film is completely unhinged and very wild, the production wasn't that way. The cast and crew were pressured by time, and they all arrived at the studio early in the morning to get into makeup. Tim Curry's makeup took 4 hours to apply, so he learned to do it himself. They did not have time to play around. It was very professional in that regard. Tim Curry said he was very reluctant to talk about this movie for years due to bad memories about overzealous fans. He told VH1 that he grew chubby and plain to try and escape the role of Frank, but these days he's more open to talk about it and even sees it as a rite of passage for teenagers. Imagine how hard this entire production was on everyone with the set not having heat or bathrooms. Yeah, you heard me. When Susan Sarandon told the studio heads, they told her that she was complaining too much, and she ended up catching pneumonia after filming the pool scene. And according to Richard O'Brien, she was shaking with fever and should have been under medical supervision, but she refused to stop working. Barry Bostwick claims he was always wet during filming because the castle had a leak and there was one warm room filled with space heaters where cast members took turns warming up until the room caught on fire. I also read that Tim Curry said during an interview with Terry Gross on a radio program Fresh Air, he said he got to meet King Charles III and Princess Diana because she loved Curry in the film. It was her who requested the meeting while he was in production of Love for Love that they attended. Princess Diana told Curry with a wicked smile that Rocky Horror had quite completed her education. I knew she always had taste. Fitting into the 1930s camp of it all, the film was originally intended to be shown in black and white until Dr. Frankenfurter's entrance, and then only his lips would be in color. The rest would still be in black and white, and then at the end of Sweet Transvestite, it would go immediately to color, and it was supposed to stay in color up until the superhero song. None of this happened because the production didn't have the money for it, but imagine, alien orgies, busted marriages, and a DIY off-screen lobotomy or two. Rocky Horror will never die, even decades from today. The glitter will stay in the bed sheets and the eyeliner will only seek deeper into the pores of millions. What do you think about the Rocky Horror Picture Show? Comment down your favorite lines, moments, quotes, memories, all that associated with this film. If you're new here, give me a like, it helps me out a lot. Subscribe if you're new, and consider turning on the bell notification. I know you don't want to miss what's next. In the meantime, my beautiful Transylvanians, take care of your mind, take care of your body, and take care of your spirit.